is your first impression of this conference?
I think it's great and it's quite unique because while there are lots of national conferences on economics, there are I don't think I know of any other that focus specifically on labour market issues for a particular country, and I think that's important because it gives greater focus to the subject areas for the individual parallel sessions, but then the round table can also be focused around policy. So I think it's a great idea to have a national conference that focuses on labour markets, and I just wish more countries, including my own, would do more of it.
So today you talked about the incidence and the quality of minimum wage employment in Europe and the living conditions of workers affected by this wage level. So according to your results, could you summarize in 1 minute the main idea and conclusions of your results?
Yeah, sure. I suppose the main idea is that minimum wages are a major factor in most developed economies. The majority of OECD countries have now a statutory minimum wage. But we need evidence, and we should be careful when we're making these decisions around minimum wages, that we're not adversely affecting workers or productivity, so on and so forth. And the evidence that, and also that if we're using minimum wages as a mechanism to tackle poverty and in-work poverty, that actually that the minimum wage is doing the job and reaching the people that it should do. And there's great variations in terms of the extent to which people who are on the minimum wage are actually at risk of being in a household that is below the poverty line. For Spain, that's quite high. For Ireland, that's quite low. And the results that we find is that, even when you're focusing even if there's low levels of poverty amongst minimum wage workers, if you increase the minimum wage, the impact can go beyond those. So the impacts on poverty and reducing in-work poverty can be more widespread than you initially would have thought, and that's what our results show. But also you need to be careful when you're increasing the minimum wage that you're not adversely affecting workers in terms of having their pay hours reduced. And that could be a risk, not widespread risks, but for particular groups of workers. And in Ireland we found reductions amongst non-nationals, for example, in terms of hours worked, and also for workers in the manufacturing sector. And things can change over time. So you need to constantly monitor the impact of minimum wage changes and look below the surface for uneven impacts between and across groups.
In recent years, there has been an intense debate in Spain about if raising the minimum wage has a positive or negative impact on employment. Based on your research and focusing on the Spanish case, what's your opinion about this debate?
Well, if you mean in terms of employment, as in employment levels, then that debate would be around the extent to which minimum wage workers lose jobs as a result of a minimum wage increase. There's been lots and lots of studies internationally of that, and the vast bulk of the literature would suggest that workers do not lose jobs following increases in the minimum wage. Where there is a reduction, if a reduction is likely to occur, may be around the number of hours that the employer gives workers, and those reductions may be focused on in particular groups rather than being widespread. But there is no evidence of systemic job losses following minimum wage increases internationally.